When you start a high-tech company, you know you will need money. Lots of money. You will also quickly realize that banks are not really keen on lending it to you. Hence, you need to get up with a strategy to get your funding in place. Hello, my name is Rolf Segers. Welcome to the Tech Transfer course about funding strategy. During this course, you will learn about what a funding strategy can look like and what the common terminology is around startup funding. To that end, in 3 parts we will discuss the basics, common terminology and valuation methods around funding. And we will slowly build towards a schematic overview of what a funding strategy can look like. Good, let's start at the top. This schematic overview shows an example of the timeline and different stages a company goes through. The top shows years, where year 1 is the founding year of your company. Important to note is that these stages reflect value increase moments. For example, before having a working demo, there is a clear technical risk in your company. Once you successfully demonstrate your technology, that risk is gone and your company has increased in value. Each stage should cover a period of 12 to 24 months, for reasons I'll get back to later. Once you've identified the different stages that your company needs to go through, you can determine the type of funding required for each stage. It's important to keep in mind that each stage may require a different type of investor. In the early years of your company, there are typically 3 stages: pre-seed, seed, Series A. The pre-seed stage is when your company has no income, the seed stage is when your company has some income, the Series A stage is when your product generates the first revenues and you need to scale up. And please bear in mind that the terms A, B, C, etc. are used for various stages, and especially deep tech companies may go to Series D before they start selling something. Typically though, Series A is associated with early growth stage. If you're aware of the funding stages you will go through, you can start thinking of the different types of investors that belong to your funding stage. First and foremost, when you're still in your pre-competitive phase, that is, you haven't sold anything yet, subsidies are your friend. These funds are also called non-dilutive funds, as they don't cost you any shares to obtain. Friends, family and fools can also provide funding, but be cautious as formal investors may not want them at the shareholder table. There are ways to deal with that. Angel investors often invest for personal reasons and typically come in before formal investors. Angels typically invest in your company at a stage that formal investors are not yet willing to. The step after, or sometimes at the same time, are regional development agencies or regionale ontwikkelingsmaatschappijen, also known as ROMs. These are semi-government regional investment funds that typically invest in the pre-seed and seed stage. They usually co-invest with formal investors and they expect you to be active in their geographic regions. Formal investors or venture capital firms are professional organizations with one job: investing money to make money. Because of the high risks involved, they usually specialized in a focus area like enterprise software, semicon, software apps, sustainable innovations, etc. The last type of funding available are family offices. They usually are more interested in later stage, longer term investments, although they occasionally do early stage investments. For all categories I mentioned, the typical stages in which investors invest, but there may be exceptions. Adding the funding types to this overview leads to this scheme. It's worth knowing that all mentioned investors all work with investment cyclically. This concept is crucial to your funding strategy. Investors invest to create impact, make money, or both. But only if their money leads to significant progress for your company. And these significant steps, known as value inflection points, typically take 9 to 15 months and increase your company's value. Examples of value inflection points are the first sold product, proof of principle, working demonstration. And after reaching one or more value inflection points, you have decreased the risk of failing and have increased the value of your company. It is then typically time for the next investment round, which takes around 3 to 9 months to realize. And adding this up, a complete cycle takes at least 12 months and ideally no more than 24 months. Hence, Most cyclically consists of a 12 months value increase period and a 6-month fundraising period, as is depicted in our overview. And to make this picture complete, we add the FTE, typical funding sizes for those rounds. And remember, these numbers are the typical average, so definitely not your specific case. Adjusted to something that makes sense to your company, just be aware that what you see here is what investors typically expect. Deviating from it a bit is common, deviating it a lot requires a lot of explaining and therefore a lot of rejection.